All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting edition of How Do I Do This Anyways? This time it's going to be a Vex V5 edition where you guys are going to be working in Vex V5 in Python. We're going to be using this because this is their official software and it has their official commands in it. But before we get started, I need you to go to your flash drive. I need you to go to where you're saving all your information and create yourself a folder that says Python, Vex V5, that sort of thing. So that way you know to store all of your stuff from the Vex part of this class in here, okay? This is not going to bleed into the Visual Studio stuff. We're not going to use the Visual Studio's code this year for the Vex V5 stuff. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing you'll notice when you start up Vex V5 code is it's going to be, well, first off, it should be an icon like this. If not, you probably need to update. They're up to version 4.62-ish, so it had to update a couple of times. Either way, you're going to go File, and you're going to go New Text Project. Okay, we're going to discard this thing, and we're going to select that we want to work in Python. Now, what you'll see down this left-hand browser side is that you can see all of the commands that you can do according to the profile of the robot that you have set. Okay, so like right now, all I have is the brain. It's assuming I have a brain here, which is a vast jump. Now, if you want to give it a profile, like tell it what you have, then you need to click that button and add some devices. Now, you have to actually know where your electronics are mapped on your robot. So if you have not already done so, you need to stop and you need to record where your stuff is. So for example, like I know that my left motor is in port 1, my right motor is in port 10, my arm motor is in 7, and my claw is in 3. If you don't know where your motors are currently mapped to, this is not going to work. You need to find that information first. Okay, so like I said a moment ago, well, first off, pause the video, get that info, then come back. We're unpaused. Cool. So my left motor, I'm going to select port 1 because that's where it lives. My right motor is in port 10. That'll tell it where to send those signals. Currently, I do not have any kind of a sensor on the thing. We are running normal. Now I'm going to add another device. I'm going to go ahead and add my arm motor first. So I'm going to click motor here, and I'm going to tell it my arm motor is in 7. And I don't want it named motor 7. I want to be able to look at this thing and know exactly what it is. So I'm going to call it arm MTR in 7 because I like to know that sort of thing. So my arm motor, and I'm going to click done. And now I've got arm motor. And it's telling me, hey, wait a minute, you got an arm motor here. You can do all these extra things. Cool, I'm going to go ahead and add another motor. I'm going to go ahead and put it in port 3, and that's going to be my claw motor. All right. Done. Okay. Now, also, you can reverse these here. So if you find that your motor needs to be reversed, then go ahead and do that here. So I've got my motors, I've got my claw, I've got my arm, and I've got my drivetrain. So if you're moving the robot around, since I have drivetrain defined, I can go ahead and call on drivetrain. So the way that you would do this, you've got a couple of different options. You can either click and drag these on over and say, hey, I want my drivetrain to drive forward for that far. Or what I'm going to tell you to do is I want you to get used to typing the stuff. So when I type in drivetrain and it starts to pop up things automatically, I can select drivetrain, I can select drive left, drive right. I just want to hit drivetrain. I'm going to hit tab. And it's going to leave that blank afterwards. So basically this is saying drivetrain, that's what I'm calling on, that's what I want to act. I'm going to hit a period, and then it's going to say, what do I want my drivetrain to do? So now I want my drivetrain to drive for. I want it to drive for a distance. So I'm going to say drive, start typing it out, and it says 4. and I want it direction, distance, unit, and weight. So now is when it starts getting into the nitty-gritty of what you want it to do. So first thing in our syntax is it asks for this little pragma here of forward, and then we're going to put a comma, and then we're going to tell it how far forward to go. I'm just going to go ahead and say 24, and I'm going to work in inches because my mind works that way this late at night. And now I'm going to go ahead and close my parentheses. Now I can go ahead and call on that again, drivetrain, and I can hit my period, and I want it to stop now at the end of that 24 inches. So I'm going to hit tab to select that, and now I'm going to hit enter again. Okay, you can do that. You can go ahead and enter any of these commands that are here. Now you've got drivetrain commands, you've got motion commands, you've got screen commands where if you wanted to just show something on the screen, like tell how far it's gone, there's all kinds of things you can do, except sensing. Sensing, we only have the battery voltage and capacity because we don't have any sensors listed here. Okay, so the first thing I want you guys to do, now that we've gone through and we've introduced ourselves to this stuff, I'm going to go ahead and delete this stuff. And I want to save this as a profile because every time I start a program, I don't want to have to type this stuff in again. So I'm going to hit File, Save As. Now I'm going to tell it where to save it. I want to find that file that I just made. I want to make sure that's in there. And I'm going to call this drivetrain because this is just my standard drivetrain for my Clawbot. You can call it drivetrain, you can call it Clawbot, whatever you want to do. Maybe Clawbot1. Clawbot underscore Python, because this is where we're going to be playing in Python. And then A1, okay? Or actually, I'm going to call it A2 because I've already done this once. Now, I'm going to click Save. So that is going to be the program that I would bring up when I want to start a fresh program. That way I don't have to put all this stuff in again. Okay, I would just go File, Open, and it would give me the option of bringing up those old ones. Okay, so like this is the one that I did with my kids earlier. That was a lot of fun. Now, File, Open. There we go. So now the other thing I want to show you is we can go ahead and go New Blocks Project. And in a New Blocks Project, what it can do is open some examples. So, for example, if I want to know my distance sensor, come on, open it. That looks pretty complicated. That's something I never would have guessed. They're actually asking the distance sensor to approximate the sizes of objects. What I want to do is I want to show you the fact that you can open up these demo codes, and you can click this little button right here and it'll pop it up in Python for you so you can look at what they're doing. So for example, looking at this thing, def, I can see that we've defined a function here, so it's going to be making this function, and it has this while true statement, so now we're in a while loop in order to do this. So yeah, basically that's what's going on with that. Now you can also convert this entirely over to a text project, but then you can't change it in there. So hopefully this helps you to get a little bit familiar with what we're going to be doing, and if you have any questions, go ahead and let me know. Take care.